Leandro left his luxurious house on a sunny morning, feeling the sea breeze coming from the nearby beach. As he walked through the neighborhood streets, his businessman eyes assessed every detail of the buildings and houses. Working in real estate, he had developed a keen eye for opportunities. Walking along the shore, Leandro noticed an apartment for sale, valued at 1 million reais. To many, this price might seem high, but to him, it was a bargain. Quickly, he put on his sports shoes and walked briskly to a quieter spot, pulling out his phone to make a call. "Hi Marcos, I saw an apartment here on the shore. It's listed for 1 million, but I'm sure that after a renovation, we can sell it for much more. Can you take care of it for me?" said Leandro confidently. "Sure, Leandro. I'll check the details and start the purchase process immediately," replied Marcos, his diligent employee. Leandro hung up the phone with a satisfied smile. Life was smiling back at him. However, under the blue sky and bright sun, a cloud of melancholy shadowed his thoughts. He wished for a family, a wife and children, but his past traumas with relationships made it hard to trust people. Despite his success and generosity, distrust was a constant barrier. Reflecting on this, Leandro made his way back home. Before arriving, he decided to stop at the supermarket. He was near the entrance when a boy ran past him like a flash, speeding out of the supermarket. A security guard tried to chase the boy but soon gave up, panting and frustrated, returning inside. Curious, Leandro entered the supermarket and encountered a buzz among the customers. There was a clear debate about the incident with the boy. Some people expressed indignation, saying that stealing was unacceptable under any circumstances, while others defended the child, claiming desperation due to hunger. "That boy was here asking for food since early morning. No one gave him anything," commented an elderly woman with a sad look, awakening a sense of compassion in Leandro. On the other hand, the visibly irritated security guard argued with some people. "He doesn't steal out of necessity. He sells what he steals to buy illicit substances," he exclaimed loudly. Opinions were divided, and Leandro listened attentively while picking up a few items from the shelves. Despite the strong emotions around him, he decided not to form an opinion on the incident and continued his shopping, lost in thought. The supermarket experience left him pondering the complexity of human situations. Leandro was walking home, his thoughts still lost in the supermarket scenes, when something in the dark alley beside the street caught his attention. It was the boy who had fled the supermarket, hiding behind a pile of old boxes. In the dim light, Leandro could see the boy devouring a bag of chips and another with 4 rolls with an urgency that broke his heart. Observing more closely, he noticed the boy's extreme thinness, to the point where his small ribs were visible under his thin skin. Despite the evident hunger, the boy didn't consume all the food at once, saving the rest in a plastic bag, probably for later. When he left his hiding place, his eyes met Leandro's. There was a moment of hesitation, a brief instant when everything seemed to freeze. Leandro felt a pang of compassion and decided to act. "Hey kid, would you like something else to eat?" he asked, trying to keep his voice friendly and welcoming. The boy's reaction was immediate, and his expression lit up as if he had received the best gift of his life. "Really?" The boy's voice was incredibly hopeful and joyful. Leandro opened his shopping bag and took out some chocolate croissants. The boy looked at them with a mixture of curiosity and admiration, as if he had never seen anything like it before. "Try one, it's very tasty," encouraged Leandro, handing him one of the croissants. The boy hesitated for a second before biting into the croissant. His eyes widened in surprise and pleasure as he savored it. He quickly devoured the rest, and tears began to roll down his cheeks as he smiled. "It's the best food I've ever eaten in my life," said the boy, still chewing the last piece. Leandro smiled, moved by the boy's simple and genuine response, and patted the boy's head in a paternal manner. "Here, take some more, and also these rolls with cheese and ham," he said, giving the boy more than he could carry. "Thank you, sir," murmured the boy, now with his arms full of food. "What's your name?" Leandro asked, wanting to know more about the young boy. "Felipe," replied the boy, still holding the food tightly. Leandro nodded, remembering the earlier incident. Felipe, I saw what happened in the supermarket. Try not to do that again, okay? Leandro's voice was gentle but firm. Felipe lowered his head. I was very hungry, my stomach hurt, his voice was almost a whisper. Leandro felt his heart tighten even more. The boy's desperation was palpable, and the simplicity of his needs, food, affection, security, made the situation even more painful. It's okay, Felipe. Do you have somewhere to stay tonight? Leandro's concern was evident as he considered the possibilities of what he could do for the boy. Felipe nodded slowly, still unsure whether to accept the help or not. Leandro sighed, knowing there was much more to the boy's life than he could imagine or solve in a casual encounter. However, in that brief moment, he did what he could to lighten Felipe's burden a little. Be careful, and if you need something, try to ask for help before taking it, okay? Advised Leandro, feeling a bit helpless but hopeful that this small kindness might make a difference. That evening, Leandro and Felipe were still near the supermarket when the calm was interrupted. Two men with severe expressions suddenly appeared, pointing at Felipe and shouting that he was the boy they were looking for. Felipe, scared, took a step back. But Leandro acted quickly, placing himself between the men and the boy. What do you want with my son? Leandro challenged, staring the men down. Felipe, confused by Leandro's sudden claim that he was his son, quickly understood the intent and decided to play along. The men, who seemed to be security guards from a local store, looked from Leandro to Felipe, clearly suspicious. Is he really your son? One of the guards asked, incredulous. Yes, he is my son, Leandro affirmed with conviction, maintaining firm eye contact. Felipe then hugged Leandro and looked at the men with an innocent gaze. Who are these men, Dad? Felipe asked, following the improvised narrative. They've mistaken you, son, Leandro replied, stroking the boy's head. The taller guard frowned, not entirely convinced. Why is your son so dirty and in those clothes? He questioned, looking from Felipe to Leandro. Like any child who likes to play in the sand, he gets dirty, Leandro gave a plausible excuse, trying to deflect suspicion. Come on, son, you have to study today, he said, starting to walk away with Felipe towards his parked car. As they walked, Felipe looked nervously over his shoulder. The guards were still watching, and the fear that they might follow increased his anxiety. Upon reaching the car, Leandro opened the door for Felipe, but the boy hesitated. The memory of his mother's warning to never accept rides from strangers came to mind. Felipe was torn between distrust and fear of the guards, but immediate concern won out, and he slowly got into the car. Leandro gently closed the door and sat behind the wheel. Don't be afraid, I'm just going to take you home. Tell me the address, Leandro whispered, trying to calm the boy. Felipe, still nervous, provided the address. During the few minutes' drive to his house, the boy began to relax and started talking more openly. He told Leandro about his life with his mother, expressing how much he loved and depended on her. Upon arriving at the house, a humble and visibly run-down structure, Leandro felt a pang in his heart seeing the conditions Felipe lived in. He opened the car door for the boy, who got out holding the bags of food. Thank you for everything, sir, said Felipe with a grateful smile. Take care, Felipe, Leandro responded, returning the smile. Felipe waved goodbye as Leandro drove away, leaving a final image of the boy smiling with gratitude. That simple farewell warmed Leandro's heart, and he drove back home reflecting on the day's unexpected events. In his luxurious apartment, he felt a restlessness that money couldn't calm. He paced back and forth, reflecting on the brief moments he had spent with Felipe. Despite his wealth and ability to buy practically anything he desired, it was the boy's company that had brought a genuine spark to his life, something unexpectedly gratifying that no amount of money could buy. The decision was made amid these agitated thoughts. I'll wait until tomorrow, he thought, anticipating what he could do to help somehow. The next morning, as soon as the sun rose, Leandro headed to Felipe's humble home. He had generous plans in mind, inviting the boy to spend a day at his apartment, where they could play in the building's pool and walk by the sea. He also wanted to extend the invitation to the boy's mother, thinking it would be a good opportunity to talk and better understand their needs. Arriving at the house's door, Leandro knocked several times but received no response. He clapped his hands persistently, but still, no one appeared. Just as he was about to give up, he heard a weak voice from inside asking him to come in. Surprised to find the door open, he followed the sound of the voice to the only room in the house. The interior revealed a scene that immediately tightened his heart. A young woman, clearly ill and as thin as Felipe, was lying on an old bed, covered by a thin sheet. Beside the bed, a desk held a plate with the chocolate croissants Leandro had given Felipe, untouched. "Are you looking for Felipe?" "He should be back soon," the woman said with a fragile smile, her weak voice softly echoing in the empty room. Leandro, a bit taken aback by how freely he was allowed in, asked why she had let him in without knowing who he was. "Really, Felipe talked a lot about you yesterday, and even if you were someone with bad intentions, there's nothing to steal here," she said with a trace of humor in her voice, despite her debilitated condition. Standing near the room's entrance, Leandro felt uncomfortably out of place with his expensive clothes and polished shoes. "My name is Leandro. Yesterday I met Felipe and—" He began but hesitated, not wanting to intrude too much into the woman's life. "I'm Julieta, Felipe's mother. He told me how kind you were to him." "Thank you for that," she interrupted, thanking him sincerely. "I'd like to help if possible. Felipe told me a little about your situation, and I thought about inviting you both to spend a day at my place, maybe change the routine a bit," Leandro explained, trying to find words that didn't sound condescending. Julieta considered the offer with a thoughtful expression, clearly weighing the implications of the invitation. "This would be wonderful for Felipe. He needs something to distract him to make him happy," she confessed, looking toward the door as if expecting her son to walk in any moment. Leandro felt a wave of relief realizing that his offer was accepted with gratitude and not as an intrusion. Leandro sat by the bed where Julieta rested, a frail woman but with a glimmer of determination in her eyes. He wanted to offer Felipe a joyful experience and thought it would be important for Julieta to join them as well, despite her limitations. "I'd like to take Felipe out for some fun, and it would be great if you could come with us." "I imagine no mother would want to let her child go alone with a stranger," Leandro said, hoping his offer would be comforting. Julieta smiled, a mix of gratitude and melancholy in her eyes. "I'm very grateful, but I can't walk and my health is very fragile. I wouldn't be able to keep up with you," she explained, her weak voice outlining the harsh reality of her condition. Leandro didn't want to accept the refusal so easily and sought to understand Julieta's limitations better. "What if we had a wheelchair? Would that help you get out a bit with Felipe?" he asked, already thinking of solutions. Julieta hesitated, clearly not accustomed to such attention or help. "I don't have a wheelchair. Without it, moving around is really difficult," she confessed, somewhat resigned. "I'll take care of it quickly," Leandro assured with contagious optimism. He quickly said his goodbyes and left. About 30 minutes later, Leandro returned. Julieta, who had been resting peacefully, was startled to see him enter with a brand-new wheelchair. "Now you can come with us. And additionally, I'll schedule a medical appointment for you. Let's see what we can do to improve your health," Leandro announced as he positioned the wheelchair for her. "I don't know how to thank you, Leandro," Julieta said, moved and surprised by the generosity of this near stranger. "You can thank me by enjoying the day with us. It's going to be fun, you'll see," Leandro replied with a smile. Soon after, Felipe ran into the house, surprised and happy to find Leandro in the living room. "What are you doing here?" Felipe asked, curiosity painted on his face. "I came to take you out for a fun day, and your mom is coming along," Leandro revealed the plan. Felipe jumped with joy and was even more excited to see his mother sitting in the wheelchair, ready to join them. Leandro helped Julieta get settled in the car, and Felipe followed shortly after, unable to contain his smile. The three headed to Leandro's apartment, where Julieta and Felipe were amazed by the luxury of the place, something they had only seen in movies. Felipe wasted no time and went straight to the pool, while Julieta and Leandro sat by the edge. After a few hours of fun in the pool, Leandro suggested a change of scenery. "How about we go to the mall? I think Felipe will enjoy seeing the stores, and we might even catch a movie," Leandro proposed, always attentive to Julieta's needs. Felipe, already back from his pool bath, agreed excitedly. At the mall, Felipe stayed by his mother's side, holding her hand and pushing the wheelchair. The day was filled with new experiences and simple joys, allowing Julieta and Felipe to momentarily escape their daily worries. At the mall, Leandro turned the outing into a surprise party for Felipe and his mother Julieta. He bought toys and new clothes for the boy, who leaped with joy with each revealed gift. Julieta, although initially a bit embarrassed by receiving so many kindnesses, could not hide her smile as she chose some new dresses that Leandro insisted on buying for her. After shopping, the trio headed to the Bay Rammer, a place where the city seemed to find peace with the ocean. Felipe ran ahead, free and radiant, while Leandro and Julieta followed with affectionate glances. They visited restaurants and pizzerias, and the evening found them watching the vast sea under a starry sky. For Felipe, it was one of the most magical nights of his life. While they were at one of the restaurants, with Felipe playing in the children's games available for little customers waiting for their food, Leandro saw an opportunity to talk more deeply with Julieta. "Julieta, I know life has been difficult for you and Felipe. I'd like to help in some more permanent way," Leandro said, his voice low and sincere. Julieta looked at him, surprised and grateful but also hesitant. "Leandro, you've already done so much for us today. I don't want to seem ungrateful, but..." She started, but was interrupted by Leandro. "I understand. But I feel I can do more. You don't need to worry about anything right now. I just want you to know you have someone to rely on," he said, gently holding her hand. Julieta felt tears forming in her eyes, moved by Leandro's kindness and generosity. "Thank you, Leandro. I don't know how to repay all this," she whispered. "Seeing you happy is a great reward for me," Leandro replied, smiling. Felipe returned to the table at that moment, interrupting the conversation, but the bond formed between Leandro, Julieta, and Felipe that day would be lasting. The evening ended with smiles and promises of more happy days together. Leandro felt fulfilled, knowing he had made a significant difference in the lives of that small family. "Julieta, if you're comfortable talking, I'd like to understand a bit more about how you lost the use of your legs," Leandro said delicately, not wanting to force the conversation but showing genuine interest and concern. Julieta sighed, a distant look crossing her face as she relived painful memories. "I worked for many years in a factory in the countryside. One day there was an accident, and I was hospitalized for a few days," she began, her voice trembling with the memory. "Over time, I started losing the use of my legs. My health deteriorated, and the factory eventually fired me," she paused, searching for strength to continue. "I came to the big city hoping to find treatment, but I never managed, and my financial situation only worsened. Now I live off the kindness of neighbors," she concluded, sadness clear in her voice. Leandro felt a pang in his heart hearing about Julieta's adversities. He gently held her hand, offering silent support. "I'm so sorry for everything you've been through, Julieta. But now you have a medical appointment scheduled, and we'll see what can be done, okay?" he said, trying to infuse a bit of hope. "I don't know how to thank you for all this," Julieta said, her eyes welling up with tears of gratitude. At that moment, the pizza arrived, and Felipe came running back, excited, to join them at the table. The conversation turned to lighter topics as they enjoyed dinner together. After a night full of laughter and pleasant moments, Leandro drove mother and son back home. As they said goodbye, he assured them that this was just the first of many outings. "We'll do this again soon. Stay well until then, and if you need anything, I'm here," Leandro promised, bidding farewell with a warm smile. Felipe waved enthusiastically, already looking forward to the next adventure, while Julieta offered a hopeful smile, both deeply touched by Leandro's kindness. With a final wave, Leandro got into his car, leaving behind the small family but taking with him the promise of a new meeting and the satisfaction of having made a significant difference in their lives. After spending an unforgettable day with Julieta and Felipe, Leandro couldn't stop thinking about ways to help that family even more. As he drove back home, an idea came to him, prompting him to take action. The moment the idea solidified, he grabbed his phone and called one of his assistants, Sandra. "I need you to do something for me. There's a house I want us to buy," he said, giving Sandra Julieta's address. "Ok, Leandro. I'll check the market value and..." "No, Sandra. I want you to offer 10 times the market value." "Buy the house for that price," Leandro interrupted, determined. Sandra, used to her boss's generous gestures, was still surprised by the amount. 10 times, Leandro? Are you sure?" "Yes, it's important." "Please do it," he replied before hanging up. 2 days later, Leandro was driving back to Julieta's house to accompany her to an important medical appointment. While stopped at a traffic light, a glint in the back seat caught his attention. He reached out and picked up a small bracelet. Leandro's heart raced as he recognized the object. It was a memento evoking a past he would rather forget. With his expression now closed and serious, Leandro resumed driving, his thoughts troubled by the memory the bracelet had stirred. Upon arriving at Julieta's house, he was greeted with a warm smile. "Leandro, what a nice surprise. You won't believe it. A woman came here offering a fortune for the house. With that money, I can buy a better place and still have plenty left over," Julieta said, visibly excited. Still shaken by what he had found in the car, Leandro could hardly share in Julieta's joy. "Julieta, whose bracelet is this?" he asked abruptly, showing her the object. Julieta looked at the bracelet, a flash of recognition in her eyes. "Oh, that's Felipe's. He must have left it in the car when you went out together." Unraveling the dark expression on Leandro's face wasn't easy. "Are you okay, Leandro? You look worried," she asked, a slight tone of concern in her voice. "No, it's nothing." "Come on, today is your appointment, right?" he said, trying to hide his discomfort and quickly changing the subject. During the drive to the hospital, Leandro continued to reflect on the bracelet and the memories it had evoked. Julieta noticed that Leandro was quieter than usual but decided to respect his space. At the appointment, the doctor brought news that would change Julieta's life. With surgery and subsequent physical therapy, she would have the chance to walk again. Overcome with emotion, Julieta cried with happiness, her hands trembling as she held Leandro's. "I don't know how to thank you for all this. You've changed our lives," she said, moved. Leandro, though still disturbed by the unexpected encounter with the past, smiled seeing Julieta's pure and sincere joy. "I'm happy for you, Julieta." "That's what matters," he replied, feeling a pang of joy at being able to make a difference in someone's life. When Julieta and Leandro arrived home after the medical appointment, there was a weight in the air, a mix of relief and unresolved tension from the bracelet found in the car. Julieta noticed that Leandro seemed distant and concerned, his mind clearly occupied with deep thoughts. "Who gave this bracelet to Felipe?" Leandro finally asked, his voice reflecting his internal agitation. Julieta sighed, her face taking on a sad expression. "It's a long story, Leandro." "I have time," he replied, encouraging her to continue. "This bracelet belonged to Felipe's biological mother." "Felipe isn't my biological son. I adopted him when he was very young," Julieta revealed, her eyes fixed on the bracelet that symbolized so much. Leandro paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "This bracelet. I gave it to the woman I loved many years ago," he confessed, his voice laden with emotion. Julieta was visibly shocked by the revelation. "You knew Laura?" she asked, surprised as she made the connection. Hearing the name Laura, Leandro felt a shiver. Memories of the past flooded his mind, taking him back to a time before his financial success. "Yes, I knew Laura when we were neighbors. I was very different back then, living in a rented house with 5 other friends. I worked a simple job, nothing like my life today. One of those friends was Flavio, my best friend. We were inseparable, Leandro began, nostalgia coloring his voice. When Flavio moved out to live alone, he got a good job and seemed to be doing well. I was happy for him. Around that time, I met Laura. She was everything to me. We fell in love and quickly started dating. I had never been as happy as I was in those days, Leandro continued, his expression softening as he recalled the happy moments. We planned to get married as soon as our financial situation improved. One day, Flavio came to visit us driving a luxury car. I was impressed by his success and invited him to be the best man at our wedding. He accepted with honor. Julieta listened attentively, absorbing every detail of the story Leandro was telling. I was so happy, Julieta. I bought this bracelet as a gift for Laura. She accepted it, but soon after, she told me she no longer loved me, and just like that, she disappeared. She vanished from my life without explaining why, Leandro concluded, the old pain still evident in his voice. Leandro's past had been marked by a painful betrayal that changed the course of his life. Sitting beside Julieta in her modest living room, he recounted how, years ago, a mutual friend showed him a photo that changed everything. In the picture, Laura and Flavio were embracing, passionately kissing beside Flavio's luxury car. The discovery of this double betrayal shattered Leandro's heart. Since that day, he lost trust in people. The anger and pain became fuel for his personal and professional growth, leading him to accumulate wealth as a way to prove his own worth. Julieta listened attentively, her expression filled with empathy for the pain Leandro described. And what happened to Laura after that, Leandro? She asked, her voice tinged with sad curiosity. Julieta took a deep breath, preparing to reveal another chapter of this intertwined narrative. Years before I had my accident, Laura moved to the same community where I lived, Julieta began. When she arrived, she was already pregnant with Felipe. We became friends and often supported each other. One day, Laura opened up about her life, explaining how she ended up with Flavio. She confessed that she was with him for money, but after a year, she discovered he was involved in illegal activities. When Flavio was arrested, Laura, pregnant and without resources, had no choice but to move to the community, Julieta continued. Unfortunately, she didn't survive childbirth. I decided to raise Felipe as if he were my own son. The only memory I had of Laura was the bracelet, which I gave to Felipe so he'd always have something of his mother close by. Leandro listened, absorbing every word. When Julieta finished, tears began to stream down his face. He was overwhelmed by the unexpected connection with his past and the sadness of Laura's fate. And now, Leandro, do you still intend to help Felipe and buy the house? Julieta asked gently, interrupting his thoughts. Leandro looked at her, surprised. I bought the house. I suspected it was you. No one else would pay so much for such an old house, except to help, Julieta replied with a sad smile. Leandro paused, thoughtful. Julieta's revelation and her intuition about his actions made him reflect on his motivations and his future. I need to think a bit more, he said finally, his voice uncertain. Thank you, Julieta, for the conversation and the hospitality. Thank you for sharing all this with me and for everything you've done for Felipe, he added, his voice choked with emotion. Julieta nodded, understanding Leandro's need to process all the new information and the whirlwind of emotions. We'll be here whenever you need us, she said warmly. Leandro gave one last look at the house and at Julieta, carrying with him not only the story of betrayal and loss but also the testament to the generosity and strength of a woman who had become a mother by choice and compassion. With a wave he left the house, each step echoing with the day's revelations and uncertainty about what to do next. The following days were filled with uncertainty for Julieta. One day the phone rang, breaking the silence of the modest house. It was Leandro's office, informing her that the sale of the house had been cancelled. Julieta felt a pang in her heart, the hope of a new life that she and Felipe had begun to nurture fading away. Julieta knew that Leandro needed time to process everything. After all, Felipe was the child of Leandro's old love, and all of this had emerged suddenly, bringing with it complex memories and emotions. Perhaps it was simply too much for him. 3 days of silence and melancholy passed, and Julieta watched Felipe, who seemed to reflect the sadness filling the house. They shared the pain of loss, not just of a promising future but also of the hope for Julieta's treatment. Then, a knock on the door broke the monotony of the afternoon. Julieta went to answer, closely followed by Felipe. When she opened the door, they found Leandro. Felipe ran to hug him, and Julieta, though surprised, couldn't help but smile. "Sorry for the delay, I was sorting out some things," Leandro said, his face showing signs of fatigue and relief. "What happened in these 3 days, Leandro?" Julieta asked, curious and still a bit apprehensive. Leandro smiled, a hopeful glint in his eyes. "I decided I won't buy the house. Instead, I want you to come live with me," Leandro revealed, clearly eager for their response. Felipe and Julieta looked at each other, surprised by the generosity of the offer. "I've spent the last few days preparing rooms for you. I hope you'll accept," Leandro added, with a hopeful tone in his voice. Felipe, without hesitation, hugged Leandro again, his joy evident. Julieta, moved and grateful, nodded. "We accept, Leandro." "Thank you so much," she said, her voice choked with emotion. Living under the same roof began for the three of them, gaining not only a new home but a life they had never imagined possible. Julieta also had her room and soon started her treatment. In the following months, Julieta made remarkable progress. Although initially relying on crutches to walk, improvement was visible every day. Leandro was always by Julieta's side, helping her walk around the house, serving her meals, and even assisting with physical therapy sessions. These moments together strengthened a bond that gradually turned into something deeper. Over time, their closeness brought feelings neither of them had expected, and they soon found themselves in love. The family Leandro had always dreamed of, formed in such an unexpected way, brought him genuine and profound happiness. Leandro, now not only rich in assets but also rich in love and family, found true happiness. Life had given him a second chance to love, and this time, he was determined to do everything for that love, cherishing every moment with Julieta and Felipe. And if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel, like, comment and share this story.